You guys go ahead and drop down in the comments, what do the Giants need to do this year that they haven't done in years past to be able to make the playoffs in 2022?
Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Biggie546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. Let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so I'm back. I think it's been about 3 weeks now. And I have a ton of topics that I want to talk about. This is the slowest part of the off season, which is why the content has been so slow. To be honest, just as from one Giants fan to some other Giants fans, it is very difficult for me to stay invested in this team because I get so excited every offseason when it looks like we're headed in the right direction. And now it looks like we're headed in the absolute right direction, like the best direction that we've been in a long time. And I'm going to keep it real with you all. It really is kind of scary for me because this could be some more smoke and mirrors to where we think the Giants finally have turned the corner and we see more of what we've been seeing, for the past, since 2013 is when we really thought that, 2013, we bring in Brandon Myers, he that pass catching tight end. He had like 60 catches the year before. And we had a couple of nice pieces there. We had Cruz, we had Nix, and we thought that we'd be able to do something. Couldn't do much. And it's been that way pretty much ever since then. Every couple of years, it looks like the Giants will take that next step, and they don't do it. So, I think today I have a ton of topics written down, and I might space these out. I might do an everyday kind of thing. I'm not sure yet, but I will try to get to every one of these topics. As I'm looking at it, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 topics right here. So that's 7 videos. That could be 7 weeks. That could be 2 weeks. Could be 3 weeks. But let's see. I could talk about. I already started about what getting my hopes up. So I think I'll start with the last topic I actually wrote down, which is what needs to happen for the Giants to make the playoffs. And I think the Giants making the playoffs is first of all, that's the only way that Daniel Jones is getting an extension. I really think that's the only way that he could possibly get an extension instead of, I think if he just has a good year where he maybe throws 28 to 32 touchdowns, not very many interceptions, and we're competitive, I think that gets him a franchise tag. But I think if he can do something like that statistically, and we're a playoff team, I think a lot of things went well, and I think that's the only possible way you could be thinking about Daniel Jones getting a new contract. So that's definitely my first thing. What needs to happen for the Giants to make the playoffs? Daniel Jones needs to have a career year. He needs to be on that same kind of touchdown pace that he was, which would have put him well over, put him at like 33 touchdowns. If that would have put him there, and then on top of that, not having as many fumbles, the interceptions were only at 12, so that's not bad. But if he could have, a 33, 34 touchdown year, or, even a 30 touchdown year, minimal turnovers, make the big plays when you need them to make it, show up when the lights are brightest. I think it's week 3 against Dallas. That's going to be a huge game. That's going to be a huge game because a lot of people think that Tyrod Taylor has no shot at getting in. But I really think that if the rest of the team is playing well and Daniel Jones looks like he's bringing the team down, I don't think that the Cowboys game he would get benched after that. But I think that Cowboys game is Daniel Jones' true audition for Brian Dable and Joe Shane as, what do we have with this guy in a big divisional game on prime time. So I'm definitely got that game earmarked. And I just think the following players need to step up. I'll start off with Thibodeaux. We drafted Thibodeaux number 5 overall. And that's all fine and great. And you pick someone up number 5 overall, you're expecting them to make an immediate impact. And it's very difficult for guys that are pass rushers. Because pass rusher is that position where the first season the guy might not make all that great of an impact, but he has to be that guy. He doesn't have to be prime Von Miller, prime Khalil Mack, but he has to be a bona fide number 1 pass rusher. unless the guy that I have next, which you can probably figure out, really steps up and becomes that number one guy. But I'm looking at Thibodeau to step up and be that dynamic pass rusher, a guy that at the end of games becomes unblockable. What he talks about in his college tape, where he says that, he becomes unblockable at the end of games, that's what we need to see. If we have a lead, we need to be waiting, just waiting to hear this guy's name, hitting the quarterback, rushing the quarterback, sacking the quarterback at the end of these games. That's what we need from Kayvon Thibodeau. The next guy, Azeez Ojulari. That is self-explanatory. Azeez Ojulari has to take that next step. I think he had 8.5 sacks. I'm not even sure at this point. I'm pretty sure he had 8.5 sacks as a rookie. And I don't care about the sack total. He's got to be ferocious. He's got to be a guy who cannot be blocked by one person. Thibodeau got drafted in the first round. He's your top 5 pick. You're expecting him to be Batman. As far as the edge rushers, I'm expecting Leo to step up too, and that's kind of my bonus guy. I don't have him on my list. But if Leo isn't a ferocious, unblockable guy, which I believe he can be, but we need Tibbs and we need Azeez, especially to be that vet, not be a liability out there, continue to get better, not be blocked by one person. Because if other guys like Leo, other guys like Thibodeau are getting attention, we need Azeez to wreck the game. The secondary is not good. Secondary, they might be good, but right now what we're looking at, they're very inexperienced. So we need that pass rush to be coming through. Of course, Martindale's going to be sending a bunch of blitzes. But we need these edge rushers, when we're not blitzing, to still get pressure. All right, so number 3, I have 2 guys. KG, Kenny Golladay, and Kadarius Toney. I think between those two, one of them is our number 1 receiver. Kadarius Toney could completely explode onto the scene, become that dynamic, unguardable receiver, become that 1,000-yard guy, and surpass everybody. But Kenny Golladay is much more proven, and we all saw what happened to both of these guys last year in Jason Garrett's system under Joe Judge's tutelage. We saw what happened to both of these guys. Neither scored a touchdown. We're going to need, at the minimum, and I'm saying minimum, we're going to need about 4 to 5 touchdowns for the guy who has less touchdowns than the other. And we're going to need double-digit touchdowns from at least one of these guys. They are too talented. Kenny Golladay is a 50-50 ball monster, hard to tackle. He's a guy that's deceptively quick, even though he's a big receiver. And he is a true number 1 receiver in this league, I believe. And I'm kind of sad about it, because I'm even thinking, unless he has like a historic level season, this is probably his last year as a Giant, just because of his contract, when he pretty much had an entire year of his career wasted because of incompetent coaching. So I need Kenny Golladay to return back to being that number 1 receiver. And of course, that depends on DJ. It depends on the system. But I don't think the system will sabotage him the way that they did. We threw no deep balls to him almost, maybe about 3 or 4 the whole season. Hardly ever targeted him in the red zone. I put some of that blame on DJ. But he's got to be that number 1 receiver impact. If not the number 1 receiver, because, maybe Toney steps up, at least be that guy who is a threat. A guy that's a threat to go up there and make that big play at any time. And if we can get a 1A, 1B, sky's the limit with these receivers. Kadarius Toney, same thing. Very shifty. You can get the ball to him at every single level of the field. He can be that deep threat. He can be an underneath guy, catch the bubble screens, run out of the backfield. Wan'Dale Robinson is also going to do that. But I think KT is just a better player. And he does all these things that Wan'Dale can do at a higher level. So he's got to be explosive. He's got to be on the field. And both of these players have got to stay healthy. They've got to at least both give us 12 games each. They both got to be on the field for 12 games, and they got to be healthy on the field for at least 12 games out of the season. And that shouldn't be asking for much, because there's 17 games now. Give us 12 games. Give us, 800 yards to 1,000. At least both of them need to be in that range for us to be a playoff team. And then finally, it's all up to Saquon Barkley. Notice I have not included the offensive line. I'm not worried about the offensive line this year. We've invested in it. We've got, Evan Neal added to that. We got some vets down in the middle. We might have one weak position on the line, but that's common. I expect the line to be functional at worst, which means they're at about 17, 18, 19, 20th best offensive line in the league, with the possibility of becoming a top 10 line because they just are that talented, especially at the tackle positions. But I'm not worried about the line, and I think it's all up to Saquon. When that line does take that next step and you give him those holes, he's got to be decisive. He's got to get in that open field and be the Saquon that we saw of 2018. He has got to return back to that form, at least 2019 form. Because if Saquon Barkley can be 2018 Saquon Barkley and a much better called offense, and with wide receivers around him, with a quarterback that's mobile, if you can run that option with a dynamic, healthy, effective Saquon and Daniel Jones, who's sliding and protecting himself, these guys have got to, they got to stay healthy first off. But at the same time, Saquon is dynamic. This gives an entirely new layer to this offense because the past 2 years, let's keep it real, he's been fighting through injuries, and Saquon has been just a name. He's got to be more than just a name again. He's got to give us more than one wow play every 5 weeks. I think he's healthier now. I think he's ready. I'm not expecting a 2,000-yard season because there's a ton of weapons out there, and I think they have plans to get the ball to everybody. But I am expecting at least a 1,500-yard total yards season from Saquon Barkley. And please, Brian Daboll, don't get past happy. If Saquon is destroying teams and destroying defenses, please do not go away from the run. Let Saquon run the ball if he's dominating games. We do not need DJ to put up video game stats if Saquon is running the air out of the ball. And again, lastly, I'll just go back to what I said, and I have one more after that. But the last biggest point I have is we cannot lose more than 6 starters for a significant amount of time. We just can't have that, especially 3 or 4 starters of the same position group, like wide receiver or like cornerback. More than 6 starters for a significant amount of time is going to be that. I'm not going to say it's going to be because I'm not going to speak into existence, but it is crippling. The Giants have been the most injured team since I think like 2008. We've been the most injured team as far as starters who have missed games. We've been by far the most. I think us and the Jets. We have got to figure out what's causing that and stop it, because we cannot continue to lose these guys at these skill positions and having to play with 4th, 5th, 6th practice squad guys. So those are my biggest reasons for what the Giants need to do to make sure they're in the playoffs. And lastly, we just need some good old-fashioned good luck. How do we win the Super Bowl a couple of times? A couple of plays that went our way. JPP blocking a field goal. Victor Cruz making that big play against the Jets, which you can say those really aren't good luck plays, but you still kind of need that one guy to trip over his foot, to fall down in coverage, to do whatever to be able to take that next step and get over the hump as a team. You guys have a great rest of your day. I have a ton of topics I want to talk about, and hopefully you'll go along this journey with me. If you made it this deep into the video, come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.